Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and we got a great lineup of some guests coming up throughout the day. We're going to start our program today with Dr. Fred Lybrand. He is a author of the #1 success habit that you can't do without. So the question is, do you plan for success? Do you actually map out things? Well, I think you're going to find our time together to be pretty interesting, and you may want to take some notes on this one. Okay, so join us now as we talk to Fred. Well, how are you doing with your time management, and how are you doing with all of your habits? And at the end of the day, are you as productive as you hope to have been? Well, we are really honored to have with us today Dr. Fred Lybrand. He's an author of quite a few books, and the one that we want to talk to him about is the #1 successful habit that you can't do without today, and there's a picture up there on the screen. He's authored quite a few books, and he's also has consulted quite a few companies and organizations to become more productive, higher levels of productivity and performance in their company. And so, Dr. Lybrand, nice to have you with us today. And looking through the book, I'm always interested in this topic because as a person who manages a fairly active staff, I always wonder, man, are we getting things done? Are we productive? I read all of the E-Myth books and everything, trying to figure out, are we doing it the right way? But what made you take this topic on?
Well, you know, one of them, the big reasons is just personal. I've always struggled personally with like having ADD, except I learned my diagnosis this year is ADOS, which is attention deficit, oh, squirrel. and you know, with that kind of dynamic, I've been wrestling with a way to approach time and getting things done that isn't like for people with accounting degrees that love calendars, etc. I'm not that kind of person, and there's some way to think about this for the rest of the population instead of that 1/3 or 1/4 of the people.
Are we too ratcheted up? Are we trying to get too much done in a day?
Well, we are. We're actually, the way the book approaches it is we're not ratcheted up and trying to get too much done. Our problem is that we're not honest. Our eyes are bigger than our stomach, kind of like going to the cafeteria line. And what the reality is, or the truth of this thing, is that we can only get so much done. If we're efficient, we can get more done. But instead of being honest about what we're going to do, we pretend that we're going to do all this stuff. And as a result, we overcommit and overstress, and then overeat and overexhaust, and you know, try our best to kind of shorten our life.
All right, so what is it? What's the one thing we can do without?
Well, the one success habit you need, one thing you can do without is you can do without fibbing to yourself, dishonesty. You can start telling the truth about what you really get done. The one success habit is the habit of learning to get done every day exactly what you mean to get done. And what we do in the book is show you how to think about systems and exactly how to think about items on your list and figure out, am I really going to do that today or not? Because once you can admit that to yourself, the entire game changes, I promise.
Wow, that's a biggie, especially for those of us who have a hard time saying no to commitment.
Exactly. But there's a way to do it, and it's a habit. You know, a habit is something you develop that you don't have to think about. And so we want to get it to that habit level. It doesn't start there, but when you get it down to that level, then life becomes much simpler because you're shooting straight. You know what you can get done, know what you can't, and you're not freaking out, as my kids would say, about everything that's coming at you, you know, in a day.
Now, you're not big on to-do lists, right?
Actually, I would say I'm probably against them. I'm probably, if I could stomp out something on the planet that would bring more health into more people instantly.
Yeah.
Generally, unless you use it wrongly, you know, the way most people use it, it's an overwhelm list. It's a place to continue to collect more and more and more, and you never really get caught up, and you never experience success. You never experience knocking it out. It's just a never-ending set of waves. It's like being a little kid at the beach, in the ocean. A wave hits you, you get up, wipe your eyes, another wave hits you, another wave hits you. That's what a to-do list does to people.
Wow. So what's the one successful habit that can help us get motivated to take on the day? Sometimes we start with the blues and we're tired, and you know, I have these spurts. I'm sure you have them too. I'll just sit at my desk and I'll get a million things done. Then there's days I just keep pushing the piles around.
Right. And at the end of the day, from pushing the piles around, you feel terrible. Or you may not feel terrible, but you don't feel chipper.
Yeah.
And you didn't get that much done. I mean, I had this Monday. My son got married over the weekend, and Monday showed up, and I had some things I wanted to do. And you know what? My Coke had lost its fizz. And so I got honest with myself, and I said, what am I really going to do today? And I looked at the items on my list, and I said, are you going to do that one? And I said, yes. And then I said to myself the next question, which is, really? And I went, and I said, really? And I went, nah. And so I scratched that one off. And by the time I went through it, I realized the most important thing for me to do that day first was to take a nap, which I did. And then when I woke up, there were some other strategic messes I cleaned up that weren't productive, except they set me up to have a productive Tuesday. That's because I sat down and got honest with myself about what I really would do in the day. Most of us are not doing that, and as a result, we're in trouble. Let me throw it real quick. The trick is to have a closed list every day. A closed list means a list of what you're going to get done, and you're pretty much not adding anything to it. That's all you're getting done that day. Since most people don't have a closed list, they don't have a good way to be focused, because anything can fly at you.
How do you handle interruptions?
I like interruptions. In fact, I love interruptions. They're exciting. If I have no one around, I'll interrupt myself. I don't mind that at all.
Well, you are DOS.
Yeah. However, what I do with them is I look at them in terms of urgency. And if the interruption is not urgent, you know, Covey taught us there's a difference between urgent and important.
Right.
And I go through the book to explain that's completely wrong. I mean, I like him, God rest his soul, but the truth is that if it's not urgent, why do it? Urgency displays importance relative to time. That's why it's urgent. It's made up to pretend like something is not urgent, it is, or something like that. And I've found if I look at the things and just say, is that more urgent than what I'm doing? And if the answer is no, I put it in a place called a may-do list. You know, I just put it where it needs to go. And then if it is more urgent, guess what? I move it to the top because I can be interrupted. If a kid breaks an arm, tough break on my list. I have a higher priority. It's already understood that I'll interrupt myself to get into the hospital or the doctor.
Do you manage your time through a daytimer type system, or are you electronic? How do you do it?
Most of it is electronic. I have two things I do. I use a Google the list. I just create some lists. I have a may-do catalog, a weekly may-do, and a daily will-do. Those are my lists there. And I have a little app on my iPhone that I use. Or my favorite thing to do is just to take a 3x5 card, divide it into 3 columns, write what I'm going to do, I think, the day in the middle column. That's my maybe column. And then I go through and sort them. Am I going to do that today? Really? And if it's yes, then I move it to the will do column to the left, scratch it through. If I'm not going to do it, I'd move it to the will not do. By the time I sort that, I mean, there's just nothing to it. I know what to work on. And since I know I'm going to get it all done that day, I just get busy.
Attaboy. So, what do you want people to get from your book?
Perry, you're going to have to repeat that.
I said, what's the essence you want people to get from your book?
You know, the essence I want them to get is that unless you read it, you want to appreciate what I'm saying. However, when you read it, what I want you to get from the one success habit is that you actually have the ability already to know what you will do and not do if you sit and think about it. You have that capacity. Most people don't recognize it. And so once we start training people to admit what they really will do or not do in a day, their productivity goes way up because they have a way to focus now instead of feeling overwhelmed.
Do we put too much pressure on ourselves?
Sure. And listen, if you don't, you've got family and friends and parents and pastors and teachers that'll fill in the gap for you.
Wow, it's a fascinating thing. I have discovered that interruptions sometimes I can't avoid, especially when you're in management and you got a lot of people coming in at you, but it does interrupt your ability to get the list done, and you're rolling them over to the next day, and then you've lost that motivation.
Exactly. You know what we teach people in management, one of the things we invented for them was to have the people that report to them come and say this simple thing. Unless you have an objection, I'm going to, and you fill in the blank. So what it does is it allows the people reporting to you to initiate a solution. And then you can inform them, yes, wait, go for it, that sounds good, or I know something else that we need to wait on. My favorite thing to do is to say to somebody, what would you do if I were dead? And then they tell me, and 90% of the time I go, that sounds good, go do that. makes the interruption, last about that long.
Oh, that's wonderful. The other thing is that's so interesting is that we have a tendency to want to move our management style over to somebody else, maybe somebody that's underneath us. Is that a fair thing to do?
Only if they are a clone of you. I mean, it'd be like trying to require somebody to write left-handed because you do when they're right-handed. Why would you do that?
Yeah, okay.
That style, the uniqueness of personality is still the uniqueness of personality. I mean, there are principles, but some people want more information. Some people want the bottom line. That's why you have to learn to work together. I mean, what's the old saying in marriage? If you're both the same, one of you is necessary.
Yeah.
But it's going to be true with management, too. I mean, that's part of the diversity is what makes a team oftentimes really cool, really work.
What do you think of the 1 minute manager, that style of management, time management?
I like the idea. I tell you what I do like. I like the idea of dealing with things as they come along.
Right.
This idea of having a yearly review, my goodness, once a year you're giving feedback? I mean, that's just strange if you think about it. Quarterly, maybe, but issue by issue, that's what people need. Good job. Catch them doing something good. Tell them they did something good. If something wasn't quite right, help them understand how we can do it better next time. I mean, most people really, all management's about expectations and consequences. And of the two, the most important is expectations. Most people do not know what their boss wants from them because they've never actually gotten it clear.
Mm. The book is entitled One Success Habit You Can Do Without. I tell you what, it's a really a tremendous tool for those of you who are struggling with managing your time and how to get by with things at the end of the day that you realize you didn't get done. Of course, I like the bottom line of what you're saying here, Dr. Lybrand, and that is that being honest with yourself, I have to tell you, I guess my enthusiasm sometimes overrides my reality. I want to get all this done. I just need to be more honest and say, nope, I'm not going to get that done today.
Yeah, and what'll happen in the course of time is you're going to get a whole lot more done. But just that honesty of being able to admit what you can and can't do, kind of like we do with money, when we finally admit what we can and can't afford,
yeah, life
actually goes better. It may not feel as good for a moment, but it feels great when you're not having to go to the pawn shop every day to cover something.
All right, well, you're a delight. I'll let you get back to feeding the squirrels. I assume that they can get your book online, right?
They can. Go just Amazon in particular, The One Success Habit. In fact, I think if they put Success Habit in, they'll find it straight up.
Yeah, straight up. That's right. All right, thanks, my friend. Nice to talk to you.
Take care. Thanks.
Well, there you go. Hopefully you got something out of that to plan your day and your week a little bit more wisely. Coming up next, we're going to talk to you about the Dove, and then we also have a very special guest coming up a little bit later on. Marsha Wright's going to be with us talking about the government shutdown.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us. Well,
welcome back to Focus Today, and I just wanted to take a few moments in this segment to talk to you about tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday. Those are the 3 days that we've set aside for our annual fall Share-A-Thon here at the Dove. And also we're celebrating 30 years. It's hard to believe that. In fact, on the screen here we have a little logo, those watching on the Dove TV, that shows the Dove celebrating 30 years of changing lives for good. And it's been a remarkable journey. That's all I can tell you. It's just, I cannot believe, personally, I cannot believe it's been 30 years. It just happened so fast. But during that time, we have grown from a single 1,000 watt daytime only radio station into a network of FM stations and translators, and of course now television, which continues to grow and expand on its own every day through Roku, and more people watching online and through the tablets and phones, through the apps, and also with the charter cable outlets in Jackson, Josephine County, and in Klamath County. It's just been a remarkable thing to see happen. So coming up over the next 3 days, we're going to have our annual Fall Share-A-Thon. And I just want to say to all of you who support the Dove, thank you so very much. I can't tell you what it means to us. We consider you partners, team members. You're one of us. You really are. And a lot of you have come by and seen the operation, see what we do. And when you support the Dove, we literally consider you part of the team. Why? 95% of our operating budget comes from listeners and viewers. Now, we do receive a little bit of advertising on the on the TV side. We can't do any advertising on the radio side. And some of the programmers sometimes will share with us some income. But when it's all boiled down, the vast majority of our operating budget comes from viewers and listeners. And it's a remarkable story of what you have done by supporting the Dove over these years. It is truly remarkable, in some ways miraculous. And so the next 3 days are critical. Our goal is $99,200. And you say, how did you come up with that amount? That is what's needed to keep the Dove funded. Our monthly obligations to run this network is pretty substantial. When you're talking about tower sites and keeping all the digital platforms up and going. I don't even know how many computers we have in the building now. They're just everywhere. And to keep all that technically running, and plus the business and the administration side of things, it's quite an obligation to keep this going. And so when you support the Dove, you're helping us do that. And that is part of where that $99,200 comes from. The other part is, included in that figure, we have an opportunity to take the Dove television and convert it from analog to digital. Now, a lot of the in-house things that we're doing are already digital, but the actual broadcasting over the airways will go from analog to digital. That is a significant opportunity. In fact, in time, we believe in time the FCC is going to force us to go digital. It's just a matter of really them making that decision. But in the meantime, another broadcast company in the area has made it available for us to convert to digital. And I have to tell you, folks, this is for about 20% of what it normally would have cost us to convert to digital. And I don't need to get into all the details and how that all came about, because it's very technical and I don't want to bore you with all of that. But we have an opportunity to change the Dove television from analog to digital for just a very small amount of money. And what that will do is enhance our coverage significantly. This is the over-the-air coverage significantly. It certainly will improve the signal and the quality. You'll have digital quality for those receiving it off-air. And it also provides for us an opportunity to add some other channels. Now, if you go to some of the other local channels, you'll see them have a .2 or a .3 channel. Well, we'll be able to do that. That means we can create some more programming and reach a whole nother level of listeners and viewers. So the next couple of days is really a time where we ask you to sincerely pray for us. We do need your prayers all the time, but these next 3 days especially. And then pray about what the Lord would have you to do to support the Dove. And you can call us anytime. You can call us now if you want. Or you can go online at thedove.us. That's safe and it's secure, totally secure. We don't share that information with anybody. And if you've been blessed, and maybe you're a business, or maybe you're just blessed personally, and you'd like to help us with some challenge support, We've had people do that over the years. We don't go looking for it. It just happens. And maybe the Lord has blessed you and you'd like to say, you know, I want to support the Dove with some challenge funds. Well, give us a call and let us know what the Lord's leading you to do. And you can do that by giving us a buzz at 541-776-5368. You know, part of, in fact, the core of what we do is God taking the content and matching it with somebody's need at the right time. That's what happens here all the time at the Dove. Whether it's radio, television, on the internet, whatever, the content that God has allowed us to be a part of and develop ourselves is matched at the right time in meeting somebody's need. It's supported out of the scripture in Romans 10:20. It says, I was found by those who weren't even seeking me, and I manifested myself to those who didn't ask. God loves people so much, and especially in these days in which we live, these crazy days in which we live, so many people are reaching out. What is truth? Who can I trust? And God will take the Dove content, the programming, and match it with that person at the right time. They're not even seeking the Lord, and they find Him. And we have a lot of testimonies that certainly share that. And then the other thing that the Dove does is provide a lot of encouragement and strength to those who have low moments. And boy, there's a lot of us that do. But let me share with you just one of these testimonies. JJ weighed in and tells us what the Dove means to her.
Hi, I'm JJ, and I've lived in this community for quite a few years now, and started watching and listening to the Dove and giving to the Dove since the time I moved here from California. The Dove has a very important voice, and I love that I'm hearing what I don't hear on the main media channels. And the morning show is like reality TV, raw and live. It's very fun and enjoyable and entertaining to listen to in the mornings. Well, you know, there's so much that the Dove does. Every day as I listen and watch and hear about our children and raising them and things to help me personally, things that encourage me, things that help keep my day going amidst, you know, my own personal problems. You know, I'm not, you know, Hollywood survivor, but I'm normal man survivor out there. And that's why I watch the Dove, because it is real and it is helpful to me. And it will be helpful to anybody who listens, aside from the teaching, things that are everyday stuff that we need to cope with our day are available on the Dove.
There you go, and just a sample of what the Dove is doing with people and for people. I can't tell you the emails that we get, the stacks of letters and cards that we get from people who have been impacted by the Dove. So we can't do this without your help. You, by supporting the Dove, you're making a huge statement everywhere. You've been so faithful in building the Dove television and supporting this month in and month out. You've helped us grow from 1 radio station to 4, and then 6 translators. 3 more will come online next year. It's just been a remarkable story that people across the country, when they hear what is happening at the Dove, are amazed, and it all happens because of your involvement. So pray and see what the Lord would have you to do. You can give us a call anytime. Of course, we're going to be doing it tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. But if you feel led of the Lord to call us now, you can do that if that's more convenient for you. And if it's more convenient for you to go online, you can do it right now at theDove.us. Thank you so much for what the Lord leads you to do. Thank you for believing in the mission and the message and what we're doing here at the Dove. Thank you for praying for us, and thank you for supporting us. As I say all the time, together we really are changing lives for good. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at the Dove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at the Dove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Welcome back, and our next guest I think you'll find to be pretty inspiring and interesting. Marsha Wright is with us. She's London-born entrepreneur, columnist, TV business expert, and strategic analysis expert, and she's authored a book entitled The Secret Collaborative Economy. And for those watching on theDove TV, there's a picture of it on the screen, and I'm sure that you could probably get that off of Amazon or check it out at Barnes & Noble. So Marsha, nice to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be with you.
Where are we Skyping you in from?
I'm in Spain today, actually. I just between the UK and Spain a lot, and today I'm in Spain.
In Spain. Well, we got a great connection. Nice to have you with us.
I'm really happy about it myself. Yeah, it's really great to be with you. And I must say, I absolutely love what you guys are doing. What I've been listening. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon to me. I've been listening all day. I just love what you do.
Oh, well, thank you. Bless your heart. Well, listen, the collaborative economy, interesting title, and we are heading towards the 17th here, as you know, in the United States. I don't know if we're going to default or not. This whole thing's a political mess. What's your take?
I think you're right. That take is correct. The idea is, and the way that we feel watching it all is kind of like watching kids in a playground, sorry to say. And it's very, very sad that there's this position of nobody's really wanting to move on their side to try to get a resolution. But this is one of the things that happens when you have people who are in these kinds of positions of power, where actually you're holding quite very serious things to ransom in order to try to get your point. And it's, you know, playing a really dangerous game of chicken. There's a lot of people who are really affected by this. Families right across the states who are affected by this. And of course, the concerns are the ramifications globally as well. As we know, the stock markets are strengthened by confidence. And you did have a rally going towards the end of last week. Things were kind of, you know, becoming a little bit more buoyant, a little bit of a rally because there was an expectation that things would settle over the weekend. And of course, that hasn't taken place. So it's really concerning. But I think one of the things that, you know, people need to do is somehow find a way to take control of their own, you know, destinies and their own future, so that when turbulence takes place and when there are principalities, that you're not at the behest of that, and your life and your family's livelihood isn't at the behest of what the government's doing, because we can't control that.
That's very biblical, isn't it? We should trust God before man.
Absolutely. And I'm a born-again Christian. I don't know if you guys actually know that. My husband and I met about 10 days before we got saved. And we've been saved since 1998. So really, really excited and happy to share that, because from a position of really understanding where God wants you to be and somehow trying to marry that up, sometimes it feels like there's a bit of a difference. And you know, you said something earlier on about together we're changing lives for the good. And I think that it's really important to make sure that you're working in alignment, and everything is all about alignment with your business partners, alignment with God's will for your life, alignment in your household. Everything has to be in alignment. And sometimes, you know, what we're seeing is effectively an issue of alignment in the government. That's what we're seeing. And the problem is if we are now expecting others to be our source, then there's always going to be a problem. God doesn't want us to be in that position.
Right. I want to come back to the United States and this mess that we're in. In the past, we've been down this road before, and we seem to always solve this problem at the 11th hour. But this particular shutdown has different feeling to it, and you commented, does the world have confidence that the United States is going to get its act together? And I'm kind of getting the sense from you and others that the world now is beginning to worry about us.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if something happens, I mean, this is not, like you say, it's not the first time, but if something like this happens and it's 2 days and it's 3 days, I mean, there was always all this fear about what could happen if it did happen, and nobody really hoped it would. But it's almost like we've gone past that line now. So when is enough enough? Now, you've got a few days now until where the debt ceiling could is it going to be raised? Is there going to be more concerns? There's meetings taking on with the IMF on the weekend. Everybody's saying, America, get your act together. And the fact of the matter is, it's not the American people. It's Capitol Hill. It's the people who are at the top who have to get that together. And again, I go back to this whole issue of alignment, that if people are in that position, and there's not a lot that people can do if they are now, at that point where they haven't got the finances, or they can't really pay their bills because things are, taking a long time, or they can't get a loan approved to grow or start their business. There's not much that you can do in that circumstances. You have to find the best out of the worst. But this is one of the things that I always talk about. There's always a good way to have a plan B when you're growing and when you're trying to develop. And I always say that families need to think about legacy as well as what they need to make today. And some of the time we're so focused on the issues of the day and the bits of today that we don't really focus on that legacy part. And as we know, there's a biblical principle of leaving inheritance for your children's children. And so it's really important to start thinking, okay, this is a turbulence, but there was a turbulence in 2008, and there was a turbulence in the early .com period. There's always going to be something outside that you can't control. And I truly believe one of the most powerful things that happens to you as an individual is the point at which you stop doing things because you have to, and you start actually taking control of your life. And I truly believe that's God's desire for us, not to be in that position where we have to do something, because if we don't, we're at ruin. It's all about wisdom. It's all about using that as the principal tool. And, I think that's one of the things that led me to write this book, because it's taken me so long to get to that point where, using all the skills and the things that I've done to become successful and build my businesses, it's always been really important to help other people to do the same. And I just hate this whole idea of, being given fish. I like people to learn how to do their own fishing. And so I think that the book for me was this opportunity to give people, look, this is a tool, now go use it and create the destiny that you want to create, and create what you really put here on this planet to do, because we're only here once. And I think the time has to be most well used.
All right. So basically, explain what you mean by collaborative economy, because you're kind of hitting around it there, and that is we pull it all together, I guess is what you're saying. Well,
no, I guess yes, in a way, but then there's also another element to it as well. The Secret Collaborative Economy is the name of the book. But what it really talks about is how you can, as an individual or as a business owner, how you can actually create much more success by working with others in collaboration in a way that is, it works for both sides. It's a symbiotic relationship. So you might be able to do this, and you put something else with that, and then now together you can do so much more. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, your company has an event taking place, and you really want to get as many of the best possible customers who you can have coming to your event, but your database is only maybe 100 or 200 people. So what are you going to do? You're not going to really pack an event that way. So then you start looking for people who service the same audience, and then you say, can we do something together? So it's kind of like using the whole element of working together on specific tasks, on specific things that will help you do what you want to do. And I've done these relationships with people in Singapore, India, Africa, Australia, the UK, of course, the USA, loads. And this has worked incredibly well for my business, because we sit down and we say, what do we want to accomplish? How do we, what do we want to achieve? And then start realizing that we don't have to have all the answers. And sometimes we get into this situation where we believe we have to have all the right answers ourselves. But sometimes it's about getting other people who can bring something, iron sharpens iron, and bring something to the table. And the two of you together can get what you ultimately want, which are completely different things maybe, but working together, one person can do something easily whilst the other can't. And I think it's really being creative with that in your businesses. And I use that same principle to get my message, even for my book, out to 1 million people with 0 advertising costs.
Wow. All right, let me take a quick break here, and when we come back, I understand that you are pretty high on families considering starting their own business, and I want you to comment on that. We'll be right back with Marsha Wright right after this.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and we are just so delighted to have Marsha Wright with us. In fact, we're Skyping her in from Spain. Look at that signal. Look at that smile. Wow. Cool. And she's the author of the book called The Secret Collaborative Economy. By the way, Marsha, where can people get the book?
Actually, they can get it from Amazon via my website, or just go straight to Amazon.com. Barnes & Noble as well, Nobu. So my website is www.marshawright.com, and lots of information and things about me there, and ways to communicate with me. Okay,
that's marshawright.com, and that's W-R-I-G-H-T. Well, yeah, you are pretty strong on families developing their own business, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a real big thing for me, because I think a lot of the time, you know, my thought process is this, and it has been for so long, I can't remember when it began, but it was always that, why can't families work together? Why can't we do what used to be done, where you start a family business and it would be, you know, handed over by, you know, dynasty, and it would become a dynasty and handed over through the generations. And I guess, you know, I still have that nostalgia for wanting that. And wanting to be able to see that. And I guess maybe some part of me felt that that came from my being raised in a broken family. My father was in jail by the time I was 5 years old. And he was a businessman. And I just always said, oh, why did he have to do what he did? Because we could have been father and daughter in business. And I guess there's that part of me that's worked to help so many people. I've worked with thousands of people who are business owners who want to grow and do things that help benefit them, their families, as well as the community and you know, and their business and employees. But I started to say, well, what about if we could work with families? What about if, you know, if families would be able to work together, and it wasn't just dad who was unavailable until 11 o'clock at night, it was the kids who were working along with it. So I'm really big on this whole concept of really involving family and trying to make something that is a holistic thing, that the family can have for many generations. And a lot of the time, generations of, you know, success and generational blessings, they're just lost after one or two generations. So it's a real concern, and I think somebody needs to champion that.
Well, you got any examples that you've helped people with on family businesses?
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. Is, you know, kids nowadays are born like they have a computer chip in their brain. Like my grandnephew is like 2.5. No, he just turned 3, and he can play computer games. It's freaky, and you know. The thing is, it's always something for kids to do, and just to whatever the family's great thing area of success is. It doesn't even have to be a major business. Just get something started, something that the whole family can do. And there's so many different websites out there, like Fiverr and People Per Hour and Freelancer.com. All these different websites that people can actually put their business services out there for others. Let them bid for it, and you can do it at home as a family. But if you have an existing business, now's a great opportunity to start looking at ways that you could get your children or your cousins or nieces and nephews involved, and try to really build a family legacy, something that you can hand down, not just the financial side, but a legacy of faith and of love and of togetherness. And I think that's really disjointed in today's world. And I think it all comes back down to the whole element of collaboration, work together, let's do something together that really lasts.
I think that's just beautiful, because most of our economy today was built upon family businesses of yesterday. It was certainly a collaborative effort from one generation to another. And sometimes passing a business to another generation can be a little tricky, but if they were raised in it, some of those transitions have been very smooth. In fact, they actually grow from that point on.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that actually leads to entropy is that when you expect somebody to just come and take things and learn it, and you try to make them want it, if you're really wanting to hand something from one generation to the next, you start the kids up early and you build them up in the area of philanthropy in the family and doing things that help other people, and let the older generation, the grandparents, the grand uncles and aunts, let the older generation work with the really, really young generation and teach them those real skills. That's just going to enrich their lives. As they grow and get into an age of understanding, then you can start saying, well, what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself? And I myself don't have children, so I had this conversation with my own niece and said, where do you see yourself? She doesn't want to be a businesswoman, but she really, really wants to do philanthropy. And that's perfectly fine. Just find a place where they fit and make it all work as a family unit.
All right. Now, you are very strong in believing that there are no barriers. And as you well know, when you start off with things, you have a lot of obstacles and things to get over. Share with us your collaborative thinking on how to get past what would be otherwise considered barriers.
Okay, well, if we're talking about barriers in business, which I presume is what you mean, right, Perry?
Mm-hmm, right.
My thought process, this is how my head works, and I guess there's a part of me that's slightly anti-authoritarian, in that I don't like being told no. It doesn't really gel well with me. So I'm not a diva or anything like that, but I just think if this door's closed, there must be another one, unless God's blocking me, and then I don't go there. But basically, this is how I see it. If I need to get more clients, then where are the clients? How can I do that in a way that doesn't involve me trying to do things that I'm not skilled at? Who can I work with who already have access to that clientele? What value can I add to them? And I'm saying to you, I have done this in my business, and my clients have increased their revenues by as much as 400% using this same activity, this same angle, because it all comes from how can I add value to somebody else and they can add value to me? So what exposure can you get because your business does something that somebody else is looking for? And a lot of the time, people are just so insular. I always say to people, treat your office like it's a volcano. Get out of there. Because the longer you're in those four walls, the less you have the opportunity to see that there's a lot of opportunity out there and people truly want what you're selling, but they don't want to be sold at. So it's really good to go the angle of endorsement and work with people who can champion you and bring you forward.
Boy, that's beautiful. All right. What little time we have left, do you think there's hope for the average family in this world economy? I mean, that seems to be so repressive. And I don't care what country you're in. I think all countries are suffering a little bit now economically. What do you say?
I totally, there is hope. If I can go from living on, $8, I'm converting it in my head, it's about $8 a week for food between two adults, and be in the position that I am now and have made such great success. I've got such a large business portfolio. And if I can do that, there is absolutely hope. And I just really want to encourage people, get educated, really read. The average person reads one book a year. Read as much as you can. Study. Don't just study Christian books. Study as much as you can on the things that will give you the intelligence to realize that the wall that looks like there is in front of you when you're crying at night or when you can't do what you've got to do, and when you've got that wall in front of you, you don't even realize it's a paper wall and you can step right through it.
Wow. How encouraging. All right, so back to the United States. We're down to a couple of days left here as to whether or not we're going to, let me just say this. All numbers show that if we didn't raise the debt ceiling, we could still make the payment on the interest that is due for the United States debt. So I don't know if the rest of the world sees this, but the way we see it here in the United States, this is strictly political being played out at a level that we've never seen before. But there's enough money coming in to pay our bills, but we seem to think that we need more.
More, unfortunately, is the order of the day, because I think some of the policymakers are thinking, we don't want to say something that's now set in stone, and then in 6 months' time, things shift and we can't go back on what we've said, although that has some room for argument. But the truth of the matter is, I think that you're right. There's a lot of political positioning going on. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is, in a sense, this feels like the nadir of the US government in today's world. In recent history, there's enough going on, and it just feels, look, guys, this is a bit self-imposed. Can you pull yourselves together? And I really hope that in the next couple of days, we start seeing some serious decisions being made. Even with Obamacare, people are very, very concerned about how that's going to affect their household incomes. Mm-hmm. So it's really this time where I really hope, and I can't say who is right, who is wrong, I'm not going to go there. But what I will say is this: I truly hope that the American people are able to get that stability back, because there's more than enough going on in the economy to create stress and to create issues with, confidence than this self-imposed problem. Let's get it together, guys.
Is the UK and Spain, your two backgrounds, is the UK and Spain worried about us at all?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading an article on The Guardian about an hour or so ago that came out a few hours ago, and it's calling the politicians squabbling like children, squabbling politicians. The concern here is, how is this affecting the global market? Everything is connected. It's not we're in the UK or we're in Spain or America. It's all connected. We are in many senses one world, especially when it comes to the financial market. So anything that's going on in the States indelibly has an effect on what's going on the rest of the world. And I think that's one of the situations where now governments from around the world, especially developing countries, are now saying, please get yourselves together, because this is affecting us as well. And I really think that there is that, that belief system kind of, this is a real messy situation. Yes, you guys want to argue, you want to, position yourselves, but you've got to get these finite issues sorted. And one of the other things is people need to really read the bills fully before they sign them. That's really important.
No, we sign them and read them later.
or put them by the bedside, and then they become like, something else, an extra mantelpiece,
Yeah, the famous line. Well, Marsha, you're a delight. How can people correspond with you and maybe learn more about you and your services?
Well, I'm absolutely happy to communicate with any of your viewers or listeners. I absolutely love communicating with people from all over the world. So if you use Twitter, then go ahead and send me a tweet message. I'll be on Twitter this afternoon right after this. My Twitter handle is @Marsha Wright. Alternatively, you can go to my website, which is www.Marsha Wright, which is MarshaWright.com, and I'm more than happy to communicate there. And if you don't use Twitter and you don't really like websites, but you have email, just go ahead and send an email, consulting@marshawright.co.uk. You don't have to buy a damn thing. I just want to help and really offer some guidance and so on if I can. Okay.
And the book is entitled The Secret Collaborative Economy. Check it out at Amazon as well. There's a picture for those watching on the Dove TV. The Secret Collaborative Economy, Marsha Wright, and you can check that at Amazon. Thanks, Marsha, and you're a delight.
So thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
You too. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at the Dove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.